In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about the Patterns tab here on Ravelry. There are a lot of different ways to find patterns on Ravelry, and I'm just going to kind of go through some of those today for you. I am going to go through the pattern search and the advanced pattern search because I use that most often, but I'm going to save that for the end of the tutorial. So we're going to go ahead and jump right down and look at personalization. Now, if you are only a knitter or only a crocheter, then you can select knitting or crochet. If you never want to see the other crafts patterns, you can select knitting or crochet. I like to see both patterns, both craft patterns, both knitting and crochet, so that's why I have knit and crochet selected here. So that's a simple thing. Then we come down to Hot Right Now. And these are designs that Ravelers are looking at today. That means that a lot of people are going in and looking at these particular patterns, and there's a lot of activity on these patterns. And I like this section because you can see what is hot right now. What are people knitting? What are people looking at? What are people favoriting? That sort of thing. Now, the icons here are quite small, so typically I just go here and browse the entire list because I can't really see too much with that there. It's great to, if you know you're looking for a particular pattern and you say, oh wow, it's in the top 5. But if you don't really know what you're looking for, or you're just kind of looking for some new patterns to put in your favorites or put in your queue, you can simply go to Browse Patterns here. And then when you get to this page, it comes up with all of the patterns that are being looked at right now, that are being favorited, that are being purchased, that are being queued, what have you. And I like this because sometimes I find some really great projects in this list, things that I had not heard about, and it makes it easy for me to favorite them. I also want to point out, when you go to this page, you will be able to see your favorites as well and your queues. For instance, you see this hitchhiker right here. That little heart shows that I have favorited this pattern. And this little box, I'm not even exactly sure what that is. It looks like a fraction on that little picture, I'm not sure. But that is showing that I have queued this pattern. So you can go through and see which patterns you have of the hot right now, which patterns you have already favorited or queued. From this screen, you can easily click on this little down arrow, and you can see how many photos, comments, and projects are for this project, for this pattern. You can also see, if I click on here, let's click on the hitchhiker, you can also see how many of your friends made these projects, this particular pattern. And that's kind of fun. So then if you have a friend who has made a particular pattern, you could always contact your friends to see how they liked that pattern or what have you. I love that feature. And then plus you can still go in and click on this link right here, and it'll take you right to all of your friends' projects. And then you can look at everything that all their project pages. So that is a very cool feature for when you're looking for patterns. So let's go back. Now, there's something here that's called Remember and Compare. Now, I'm not 100% sure what this is, but I'm assuming that if you are looking at a couple different patterns, so let's say we see this cow pattern, and I've already selected it to remember and compare. You're looking at this cow pattern, and then you say, well, let's look at another cow pattern and see, remember and compare. When you click on that and then you go to this star down here, it'll take you to the page. Oops, we have to zoom up. It'll take you to the page where you're only looking at those two. Now from here, I'm not exactly sure what you can do with these two. Maybe it's just looking at the stats down the side here. I'm not really sure what we're comparing because it doesn't give you an easy way to see that what this pattern and what this pattern are giving you. But at least you know it's there, and if it's helpful to you, I would love to hear how you use this feature of the patterned page. So that is the hot right now patterns. Then you have your what you've looked at section. And I love this section because let's say I look at something, I forgot to favorite it or cue it, and I'm like, oh man, I remember looking at this page, but I don't remember what it was called. So you can come to here for your history, and you can click on this, and then you can look at all the different projects that you have viewed recently from your history. And that way, if you forget to favorite something, you can come back here, find it so that you can favorite it. I think that is an awesome feature of the pattern search on Ravelry. Next up, you have the recently added patterns. Again, this is another great way to see what has been added to Ravelry recently. Now, at one point, I would go to this section a couple times a week, sometimes more often if I had more time, and just look at all the different fabulous patterns that were added to Ravelry. And they are listed here in order of how they've been added. So this is the very most recent pattern that was added to Ravelry, and then it goes backwards. So I would just kind of scroll through here if I was needing inspiration and wanting to see what was new. I could come here, I could look at the pictures, I could go directly to the file or to the pattern and see more detail. I loved looking at all the new patterns, and then I would just go to the next page and just keep going until I got to the pattern, the last pattern that I saw. I rarely ever got to 500 pages, but if I had some time and I was just needing something to do that was kind of mindless and inspiring, I would come here and look at all the different patterns that have recently been added to Ravelry. Then at the top of the next column are just some ads that you might want to click on. You might want to check out the patterns here. And then you have the browse by categories. Let's say you are looking for a pullover and that's all you want to see. Then you can quick and easy, just click on the pullovers category, and that's all you will look at. And that goes for any of these items. But I'm going to show you the way that I used the advanced search that will help you find all the items that work for what you are looking for. But this is a great easy way to just grab one item if you're looking for something here, and then you can see all the categories here as well. Then you can look here, the designers on Ravelry. These are designers that you have favorited, that have recently published patterns. So if you have favorited a designer, then every time they post a pattern, it's going to show up in your little section here, which is great because then you can immediately know when they've got new patterns that have been published. And then down here with the something random, if you're just looking for some random inspiration, you can just kind of be surprised at what will be provided down here. So now let's get to the pattern browser and advanced search option. This is where I go most often when I am searching for a new pattern. And it's where I go most often when people inquire, ask for suggestions for patterns to knit. And this is one reason why I'm doing this tutorial, because again, I'm asked quite often for my suggestions on what should I knit with this yarn. Do you know of an easy shawl pattern that I can have my friend who's a new knitter knit? So I love the pattern search. So let's just jump right in and I'll start showing you some of the features. Now, what I use this most often for is if I say, okay, I've got some yarn that I want to use, and I know how much yardage I have, and I know what I want to make with it. I know what type of project I want to make with it, but I don't know what I want to do. So let's assume that we are going to want to knit a shawl. And we want to knit it, so I'm going to select knitting. Now if you want to have the crochet options, you can select that as well. But I know I want to have a knitted project. I also know that I want to have a photo, because honestly, this is a visual world, and if you can't see a photo, sometimes it's difficult to really visualize what the pattern is going to produce. So I always select the yes, I want a photo. Then you have the availability. Do I want only free patterns? Do I want a Ravelry download? You can click multiple items here so that it will show both free and Ravelry download or purchase and what have you. I usually leave this blank unless I know that I'm trying to find a free pattern for a friend who doesn't want to spend money on a pattern right now. So, but I usually leave this open so I have all my options open to me. Then I know that I want to knit a shawl. So I will come down to accessories and select neck and torso, and then I will select shawl wrap. Now again, you can select any number of items. So let's say I want to select shawl wrap, I also want to select poncho, or some other things. You can select multiple items. But when you select multiple items, you are being reduced down. Well, apparently, I guess you're not being reduced down. You're getting both ponchos and shawls and wraps. And I'm not sure why all of a sudden that jumped up. But I'm going to only search for shawls and wraps right now. I think it's later when you start searching for other things down here that you get limited. Again, you can search for whether you want it in a book publication, an ebook, what have you. I usually leave that one blank. And any of these categories that you don't use, you can minus them down so they're not in your way. You can choose if you have a particular construction you're looking for or shapes. Let's say I want to only search for triangular shawls. So then I'm even going to be limited even more on what is being shown in this search. Because we all have our favorites, when, if it's just a triangular shawl or if it's a pullover or what have you. You can also select the age and size. And in this case, I'm going to select an adult. And over here, I didn't mean to select that. Over here, you'll see that these numbers over here, this is the number of items that are available for that category. And sometimes as you click and add these criterias to your search, there will be some items that are removed from the search that may still fall in that category, but because the designer didn't put enough information on the pattern, that is why it's being removed. So then you get down to weight, and I'm going to select fingering because I have a skein of fingering weight yarn that I want to use. And sometimes you can also select, you can select light fingering too, because a lot of times you'll find different patterns in those two categories. And then I will come down here and select my yardage. Now, typically, a skein of fingering weight yarn is about 400 to 450 yards. Occasionally, you'll get some fingering weight yarn that's a little bit more. I don't want to select this category of 450 to 600 yards unless I have two skeins, because then I will get shawls that probably require two skeins or more, and if I don't have two skeins, it's going to skew how I look for my shawl. So I'm going to select the 300 to 450 item, and now it's reduced that down to 425 shawls. And let's see, what other items do we have? We can also look to see, oh, look, I have 11 of these 400, what was it, 425 patterns. I have 11 of them in my queue. I have made 7 of the projects. I have 34 of them in my favorites. I have yarn in my stash for the fingering and the light fingering in that yardage quantity. And 13 of these are designers that I have favorited. So there's a lot of information here that you can get from this, this pattern search. Then we come down to difficulty. And again, I don't usually select difficulty, because if the pattern has not been rated by the designer or by somebody who's knit it, then you may be eliminating some options that might be viable to you. So I usually don't click difficulty unless you are really set, oh my, like saying, oh my goodness, I need something very easy, I have to have easy. Then you can select easy and then go with the choices that you have and so forth. So that's also an option. Then you have even more choices down here. I rarely use a lot of these. Sometimes I'll use the gauge if I am looking for a specific yarn that I want to use. But I don't really use anything in this last section very often. So now I have selected all of these options. Now I have 400, I think, what did it say? 425 options to choose from. And it's going to list them in order of hot right now. So that's a cool thing, that it's going to show them in what's popular right now for the items that you've chosen. So you've chosen shawl and wrap, and now we can kind of go through and look at these and decide which of these shawls we want to knit. And I don't think that there is a way to save your search. So each time you come back in here, you have to redo your search. You might be able, oh, you can save your search right here. Well, look, even I learned something. So I'm going to click Save My Search. Huh. I have no idea. Oh, okay, so you can only save one search. So that's okay. So we'll overwrite the current one. And I'm not sure how I would get back my search if I wanted to. Oh, here we go. Name the search. So we're going to name it shawl, fingering. You can name it anything you like. And save search. There we go. And now we'll learn this together. Where do my saved searches go? So this is so cool. Okay, so let's see. So it goes, if you come to the search Ravelry, then my saved searches goes right there. That is too cool. I did not know that, and I just found that out here today with you guys. So see, all you have to do in order to learn most things about Ravelry or anywhere else, other programs, is just kind of look around and see, is there something that you're missing? So that is very cool. I love that. And then I can always just come back and search that. Now I'm not sure. Oh, I must have saved this search from the past. Very interesting. That was from a long time ago. I wanted to see how everybody's spinning turned out when I did the spit along with the Knit Girls years ago. That is so awesome. I'm so glad I found that. So let's go back. Let's my saved searches and back to fingering. Very cool. And that's going to take a moment to pull that up. So then you can just very easily look at all the patterns. And again, you have the options here to click down and to see how many photos, comments, projects, friends, what have you. You can also change the sort method of the search. Maybe you don't want to see what's hot right now, but you want to see the most popular first. Then you can change that sort feature. And is it going to change automatically? Oh, I guess it did change and I missed it. Or you can change to the most projects. There we go. And you have all these different options that you can select. The most difficult to easy, and so forth. The yarn requirements. So that is a great feature as well. So let's go back to hot right now, and then let's look at these. You can also change your thumbnails to a large thumbnail or a list with images. Or you can select the large thumbnail. I like the small thumbnail the best because it gives me the name of the pattern and everything underneath, and if I want to click on the project, I can easily do that and go in and look at that project. Not only can you search the patterns with all of these great search categories or criteria, but you can also search projects, designers, sources, yarns, and so forth. So if I want to go out and look at all the knitting, the knitted triangle shawls for this adult and these fingering and that yardage, I can click on the projects and look at all of the projects. Now it's probably going to take a moment that fall in these categories. And I think that is awesome. I love to look at other people's projects on Ravelry. Now this is kind of weird because we've got socks in here. It must be just going by the knitting, and also there's some I guess there's a little bit different of some criteria here for the projects. So let's say we only want to look at the finished projects. And we only want to look at the knitting right now. We want to look at fingering and light fingering. Then we can come down here and choose accessories, neck, torso, shawl, and only look at those. So I guess you have to redo your search. And we want to look at very happy and, oh wait, I'm sorry, that's very unhappy. We don't want very unhappy. We want only the happy ones. So let's change these. Is it gonna, there we go. So we're gonna look at the very happy and the next level up from happy. So we can see what people have knit. Now, the only thing about looking at projects is sometimes you're not looking, people don't always have even if they finish the project, they don't always have a finished picture. And I am just as guilty about doing this as other people as well, but at least you kind of get an idea of what people are enjoying knitting, what projects they like working on, and so forth. And you see we have our yardage down here. We can also look at different color families. If you're inspired by a specific color family, we'll choose pink because we all know that that inspires me. And then you'll only see the pink projects. So that is another great way to search for projects on Ravelry. And there you have it. That is how I use the features, the advanced features on Ravelry to find fabulous patterns for me to knit. Thanks for watching.